Thank you.
Good. Yes. Okay, let's do this again. We'd like to open the meeting, May 16th, 2025, City of Geneva IDA meeting. Welcome, everyone. David, do you want to read for the last time? Thank you for the mission statement.
The Geneva IDA was created to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in acquiring, constructing, maintaining, equipping, and furnishing certain types of projects and facilities to advance the job opportunities, health, general prosperity, economic welfare, and recreational opportunities for the citizens of the city of Geneva.
Okay, so remind us why we're here. Okay, first thing, we have some administrative things, the agenda before you. Is there any issues or issues? I think we have a report for the nominating committee or motion to recommend the nomination. That was from last month, right?
Yes, although we did discuss that we wanted to add a motion to appoint a new executive director.
Got it. Okay, so that will be instead of. Okay. Anything else? That would be a good thing. A motion to approve the changes. Thank you, RJ. Catherine, thank you. The April and February minutes, are there any corrections to that? I did catch one in last month's meeting, Nicole, under the GDC committee. You said the IDA still owes $50,000 and it's $500,000. Anything else? Sensitive.
Why don't you find that?
Because of the dollar sign there?
Yeah.
Any other? A motion to approve both the April and February minutes. Thank you, Lowell, and thank you, Kat. All right. Financial report, Adam. Nice to see you here.
Happy to be here. So for April, not much activity. We've got little under 140,000 in bank accounts, and that includes a CD of 76,000. So doing pretty well there, and obviously we're looking to the future with some of these projects coming up and potential pilots that could generate some revenue. In terms of profit and loss, we're at a net loss at the moment. That was to be expected, as we've made some payments to the bid for economic development support, and then that's been offset slightly by our income from investments at a little over 2,000. So net loss currently of about 28,000, but looking at that to potentially get a lot better here soon. So not much activity for April. We'll have a little bit more in May.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Adam? And I'd like a motion to approve. Okay, RJ and
I'll say.
will second it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. It is, I do not see that.
They're not here. Why don't, if we have questions about their report, you want to ask them about, we can ask them for a follow-up. I'm not sure where it's at. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'll find out they were close.
He did, the reports are pretty comprehensive. Everyone saw anything and what's their provided. Like to ask them.
One thing to note is we are having a sprinkler, the ongoing sprinkler issue. Section of the sprinklers are currently down and not functioning.
Is it because of the 3-story building? Yeah. Right. Okay, so let's go on to new agenda items. The topic for today is the first look at the Lakeview and Ross pilot application, which is the pilot for the property that currently was the Finger Lakes Times. Into the process of Lakeview community resources are building I think it's 60 unit facility. Right in the center of downtown, set of plans here. So this has come before the planning board. There's a public hearing on the code variance on the actual site plan review next Wednesday at the city council chambers on the second floor. If anyone wants to attend to see what the community comments are going to be about. The planning board, which had its first review of this last month in April. It was a good presentation. They did have renderings and quite a few people there at the meeting to kind of flesh out what the things is. So, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. Our motion today that we're going to consider is just really to accept the application. We're not voting on actually that we're going to give them a pilot. It's really just, we're saying that this is okay to look at this application. This application, David, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is they have to have not just a building permit pilot in place, and then before they actually do their official application to the state for the funding, correct? So this is a long-term deal. As far as maybe culminates in about 3 years, 2 to 3 years. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but they have to have their things in order now. There was a preliminary review by the state of this application. They know about it, and their first look was favorable. So this is not like a pie in the sky for them. And David, maybe you could speak a little bit about Lakeview's history and the developer's history here.
Yeah, so Lakeview has worked with various developers around the state on projects of similar scale. They are a pretty well-respected group. Right now, they provide service to a lot of Geneva residents in various apartments that they don't own around the city. And one thing that they found is that a lot of those people are living in pretty rough conditions. This project would be a mix of people receiving the services that they provide and also people who just qualify for affordable housing. And when we say affordable, what we mean is that the rent is set at 30% of someone's income. That's what people can afford without compromising other parts of their life. This project would be looking at below the median, which is below the middle of all the incomes in the community. But it's people who have jobs like service workers downtown, entry-level teachers, entry-level security people, a lot of people who work in City Hall make income that would qualify for this. We're talking about kind of the workers of the city. And it's a significant scale building. It's 5 stories. It uses only part of the lot. It has some surface parking fit into the design. It is asking for a variance for parking because the people, in their experience in other locations, they don't always need the one parking space for every apartment because a lot of people don't have cars. So, I think it's a good proposal. It's a strong developer that we know. And when I brought this to Lenny Squirrel at the state, who's the head of all low-income housing tax credit funding for our region, he said, these guys, I think they're 4 out of 4 on their last set of applications. They're very well respected with the state. They get the projects done quickly and they do a good job.
So that's what we're considering. Okay, just kind of get the ball rolling here. The actual, obviously, we're going to have, we also want to set the public hearing, which would be next month. And so that we can hear, give the opportunity for the community to give the self or concerns about this so that we can take that into our consideration of developing the final. I noticed, David, that they're asking for 30 years. There's not a schedule for that yet. What it would be is, I mean, it's obviously our standard template is 15 years.
Right. So what they're looking for, often with our projects where we're subsidizing the startup, we have kind of a ramping off of the subsidy. What they're looking at is their affordability requirement comes with a 30-year time span, so they're looking to set the taxes based on that 30-year affordability. So it'll be flat. It'll be the same amount every year.
Will be around 50%.
So what it would be is close to $500 per unit. And they essentially, this is basically matching what they could get through another exemption if they didn't get a pilot, but the funders prefer kind of the really structured certainty of the pilot.
It's about $30,000 a year, so.
That's all, yeah. Each year for an exact number.
That was actually, just says 30 years. I mean, it's, it's up to us. Will we have a, profit, a cost benefit
Yes, so that's the next step before the,
before we go?
yeah, before the public hearing, we'll have the full cost benefit.
And then with the,
What time the public hearing this Monday?
or then
6 o'clock next Monday, 6.
6 and next Wednesday, it's city hall. I believe they'll have the 14 there,
Yes,
the renderings and whatnot to answer questions of the public.
right. And to be clear, that public hearing is really on the building from a zoning perspective.
Yeah, it's something to do with
Right,
it, not on the.
Yeah, right.
Our public hearing will be at the Geneva, yeah.
Our June meeting, and it'll be up there until we have a.
Yep.
An audience.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it at the same time, at 8:30 in the morning. I know that's a good attendance.
It's up to this group if you want
All right,
to.
so we can discuss that.
Yeah.
Any questions before we go on to the kind of, yes, Ken?
There's no been, mentioned in the pilot that they submitted, and then introducing the bid district, so we make sure that for a separate pilot. that we did complete.
I guess I don't understand what.
So when you set up the pilots, like for 41 Lakefront, they pay the pilot, and then they pay 10% of what the actual taxes would be towards the bid. So we get that flat fee every year to help maintain property and take care of. Or it can be done as a percentage, but again, it's gonna be flat, so like the massive project downtown, it's the operations center. They pay in the pilot instead of in the bid tax instead of the district. If you don't build it into the pilot.
So Catherine has an excellent point. When we give a pilot, there are multiple jurisdictions that normally would get money from the payment, and we can include or disclude the school district, the county, the city, and the bid. Those are all of the groups that normally get money, and I think it's a great point that we should make sure that everybody's getting their fair share out of this.
With me, that's a good idea. One thing, so this is a point in history for the city, because we've got 3 construction projects, each having 60 new homes or apartments, right? So we got the OEO and the Foundry site and this one. So in order for us to stay on top of this and to maintain contact with these developers without David, I think it's gonna be a challenge. So I want to make sure that I will always be available to attend meetings and to represent the IDA if someone else can't, you know, and I think it is going to be challenging for us to stay on top of all this. And thanks to our attorney and to Amy and Adam, I think we'll be okay, but we better be ready.
It is a long process, and all of them, I think, OEO is gonna be probably a longer, of all of them. The, I know that the one that the Foundry is still working on their plans, trying to, that's gonna be further down. So It's stretched out. This is, like I said, the first step. They're very eager to get this going. They have a plan, so,
I think it's exciting. It's great. This is great.
yeah, I agree. But we need to verify that and the kind of the percentages that are part of the process here for us.
That's a legal question. Is there like a long-standing resolution or some form of agreement amongst the taxing jurisdictions in the bid that's how that out? And the only reason I ask is technically every pilot, when it gets dispersed, it has to be pro rata based on each taxing jurisdiction's mill rate. And if you deviate from that allocation, you have to get the consent of all the taxing jurisdictions. So, but if there's a long-standing agreement where all the taxing jurisdictions have previously consented to that, basically saying, hey, going forward, if these projects fall within the bid district, then, X percent goes to the bid, then that's fine. If not, I mean, it's easy enough to get those presumably. But I just want to make sure that.
Not that I'm aware of, my way, I have, backtracked out all of our other pilots, like I go on the IDA website, I read the entire pilot, I see how it's supposed to be laid out, and then I proceeded from that point. If, I believe that if we don't put the bid into the pilot, then they are subject to fair property taxes at the bid rate, the way that we've done with the duck block projects. If we're looking at a $39 million property, I mean, sure, we'd be happy to take it at full bid rate, but, I don't think that's the right way to do it, correct?
No, and it wouldn't work out that way. The way these properties are taxed isn't actually based on the construction costs. So
That's
it's,
based on final assessment value.
it's based on the revenue,
Mm.
which the revenue for renting at very low rates isn't super high. But I think building it in at,
Yeah,
I guess it's a
historically,
question.
that's what we've always done. Saying that that's always the right way to do things, but in this case, I think it makes sense. That all the taxing jurisdictions are included in the pilot. To your question, I don't think there is anything that specifically we've done in the past that states it's this amount. I think it's been dependent on each pilot. So I don't think it has to be the 10%, higher, lower, whatever is agreed to, I think by all parties included. So,
Yeah, because I was gonna say, because I don't think, as a general rule, you can technically abate bid taxes that would go to the bid anyway.
Yeah.
So
the city,
like it's almost like a special district.
yeah, I think the city would have to make those other jurisdictions whole anyway. So unless they're included in the plan, so I think that would be.
Figure it out.
Any other questions or, things that we might want to clarify again? So it's just first step to accept the application.
Do have a couple questions. What is our working definition of supportive housing for this development? Just because like someone could think supportive housing is one thing and then it's kind of like the whole affordable also.
Yeah, so people who are in the supportive portion of this are people who receive services from Lakeview. Those services could be a lot of different things. It could be help with grocery shopping, check-ins to make sure that, they're taking care of kind of all their daily needs. It's people who are able to live independently on their own. It's not like you have a nurse. It's not medical assistance. It's like daily life assistance.
I was reading, and I don't know if it was online, and I'll preface this with, of course, like as time progresses, someone will say one thing and then it could change, of course. So is there a breakdown of, like, is this all supportive housing or how is this development proposed?
So, 37 of the units are supportive housing units, so people who receive services from Lakeview. 27 units are for people with incomes between 40,740 and 58,200. With rents between 900 and 1,100. 10 units are for people with incomes between 54,320 and 77,600, with rents between 1,250 and 1,450.
So for, I believe Lakeview, and I'm new at this, so at any point, please correct me if I'm wrong. Are they a 501 receiver? Is there a tax advantage that they've explored through that?
So they are a nonprofit, but the housing is still taxable.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, and the way I think they're structuring this is that they use of an HDFC. There's a section in the private housing finance law where they basically form this HDFC entity that's technically a non-profit entity. And they have a limited partnership. The HDFC has like 1%, and then, GPs, the guys with the investors, have, 99%. And that's why you'll also see in the application, that's why originally I was reaching out to David, I was confused, I didn't see any request for sales tax and mortgage reporting tax. But then I found out they were using an HDFC, which they can use sales tax exemptions and mortgage reporting tax exemptions through the doesn't. So that's what you'll see, like when you see the actual documents, there will be, called the beneficial owner, which will be, an LLC. And then you'll have the HDFC, they'll all be parties to these agreements with the AIDA.
And that's a good point about the investors. So the way low-income housing tax credits work is that the state grants they'll apply for. That's why they're trying to get their ducks in a row to apply for these tax credits. The state will grant the project tax credits, which they will then sell to investors. So the investors that buy those tax credits are offsetting taxes that they have elsewhere, on investments or revenue, whatever it is that they need to offset. Often it's banks that buy them. They then become owners of the project, and they're the ones who are on the hook for 30 years for making sure this project follows all the rules, is kept up well, is correctly income qualifying people, is basically being a well-run project that follows all the regulations. So if they don't do that, they lose this tax benefit sometime over that 30-year period. So it's a way that really creates a lot of accountability for the project.
and they prefer the pilot route, at a proposed 50%.
So the purpose of the pilot, basically, they could get a dramatically reduced assessment rate as this kind of affordable housing. But it does change a little bit every year. Going with a pilot makes it so that their investors know exactly what the taxes are going to be every year. It's not dramatically different in what you're actually getting, but it's just more predictable here.
And is the other program is it 45D?
One of the things I remember from the Lakeside project was the first couple of years were much more than $30,000 of that. And then towards the end of the 15 years, it was almost $1 million a year.
That's ours.
And it seems that this amount per year is low. That's just my sense in comparison to the two projects.
Right. So it's a very different revenue stream between the two projects. So even though it costs similar to construct it, the revenue is not going to be anywhere near the same. For Lake's Edge, that pilot is kind of the typical tailing off, where year one after construction, or after they hope construction will be done, it's a 90% abatement on the increase in value, and then it drops off by a set percentage every year. That's a different setup than what this kind of project is looking at, which is just a set abatement over the regulatory period.
So when we're looking at this, right, so and I'll use round numbers, so the reduced rate is $1,000 per month for for someone who's making $40,000 to $58,000 a year. Isn't that rate going to go up over the course of 30 years? And won't that then the reduced rate continue to increase, making this value increase dramatically over 30 years while the taxes stay flat?
It could go up. It's hard to say. So obviously, there is certainly a benefit to having that certainty from their perspective. It could go down. Values go up and down. We're used to wanting them to go up only.
And at the end of 30 years, you just do a home assessment.
At the end of 30 years with this kind of project, typically, then either it will go private market and it could be rented at market rate, it could be a condo conversion, it could be that they get another low-income housing tax credit project to rehab the whole thing and start it up for another 30 years. But from the pilot's perspective, year 31, it just pays regular taxes based on its assessed value. Or because that's based on the revenue stream.
I'll be 103 then, so I'll stick around.
When they say revenue stream, what happens if apartments aren't occupied?
So with the pilot, it makes no difference to us. We get the amount regardless. If they were taxed and their revenue was low, the taxes would go down. If the revenue was high, that's go up.
Any other discussions? Sure.
For the LAHTC and the state of Brooklyn, so it sounds like the project is dependent on a pilot being approved in order to obtain those funding, or?
I would say it makes it a lot more competitive. It's a very competitive program. The more readiness you can show, the higher likelihood you are to get allocated.
Okay. And I saw in the sources breakdown the OMH award, and that they're still in the process potentially of obtaining it. So just for clarity, none of this funding has actually been awarded or allocated. It's just in process.
Yes.
Okay. And one last thing, I didn't get the financials for the development or the organization. Does that normally come after, or how does that process work?
Like a pro forma for the project beyond what's in the application. It's something we could request. Generally, what we get is just what's in the application. And that's also something that you all can think about is what you want in the application.
Which would, so we could postpone accepting the application if in fact we want to add that condition or that requirement.
Or you could do it and make a condition. You could
Make it a condition of approving that, sure.
You could.
Right, you're not required to approve. Once you start the process, that doesn't mean you have to approve the pilot. It just means moving towards a public hearing. So if you want to request additional information, but start the process of moving towards the hearing, I think that's okay.
We could do that and just request it. We actually, prior to voting on it, we would understand it, we set it under that. No? Good, okay. With a motion to accept the application with the caveat that we had financial perspective from the applicant.
And we have a draft resolution provided by the attorney that does that in much longer.
Yeah, we should look at that. If there's any resolution. Well, that's what Steve's here for, we can.
You want to walk through the standard components of that?
Yeah, so really all, excuse me, all this resolution is doing is accepting the application, authorizing the IDA to basically schedule and conduct the public hearing after we get the cost benefit analysis, because that's going to be part of the public hearing. Describe kind of the benefits, all that stuff. And then just describing the forms of financial assistance, which here it's a partial abatement of real property tax. So as David said, nothing here is being approved, just basically getting the ball rolling. If the board adopts the resolution today, we'll then work to schedule a public hearing. You'll hold the public hearing on 10 days notice minimum. And then at the next board meeting, if everything went well, you could then approve the benefits package. And then at that point, then they're off to the races at the
With everyone? Questions?
Need a motion?
Let's go for a motion to accept the application. For resolution. Do this resolution, accept the application.
So moved.
Thank you, Irene. Second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I gotta do a roll call.
Oh, okay.
You have it? Okay.
Okay.
We have it. Aye.
Aye.
She's there, what she can.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can.
If you can,
Are in the room,
Got it.
people not in the room.
Yes.
Mr. Pascal.
Aye.
Ms. Price. Aye. Mr. King.
Thank you very much. So that what we want to do is obviously have the cost benefit analysis and then obviously we're not going to publish the perspective, right? It's a private thing. Not for, just the financial, counting of them. And we can review that in the executive session next month.
Sure. So we want to request,
Or have it available for us to review, but it's not to be distributed, right? Because of.
They could certainly try to market as confidential, and I think under FOIL, again, application, all that stuff is technically public record, but when it comes to their financials, there could be a argument to make it not FOILable. I think it could fall within the right. So I would just have them market confidential.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I also wanted to make sure that everyone knows that we do have, a few people downtown on my board of directors who are not excited about this, project.
We expect some next Wednesday and probably our meeting next month. We should set a time for that or discuss whether or not we should keep it at 8:30 in the morning or in the evening. We've done that before. We'll try to, but I guess it's a schedule list when the room's available and all that, right? But why don't we add on the agenda? Well, let's discuss whether we think it's fair to have it 8:30 in the morning when many people can't make it. Or if we should have it early evening, 6 o'clock. Any comments on that or?
Do you think it would also be valuable, just from a sponsor standpoint, to also review the financials of the development or the as well?
as a nonprofit, like request their most recent audit.
Just I don't know if that's, if anyone else would find that valuable.
Is that acceptable?
You certainly can. It's just with I don't know how much it will tell, given that when you get to basically the closing table, the ownership structure is going to be, it's not necessarily going to be Lakeview.
Right.
So I don't know how much.
Yeah, we haven't done this before. I mean, there's been some pushback. Why didn't we check the financial over because they didn't have the wherewithal to finish the project? A little bit different. They do have a track record, but
And presumably these guys have already had to have provided pro formas and everything to the state as part of, their
Right,
application.
that is a standard part of the LIHTC application.
Right.
it's a little bit more controlled than an open market, not open market, private, for-profit application, I think, category. But we'll try to get some financial information to satisfy your questions. Okay, and hey, that's good. So we're all done with that for now. GDC committee meeting, really not much there yet. We're waiting for the city to give us an indication of the rent.
You had just mentioned evening or morning meetings, and we didn't circle back to that, or
I
public
didn't finish
hearing?
that. Thank you,
Yeah,
Irene.
you're fine. I am in support of an evening, as we've done in the past.
Everyone agree with that, it gives the public ample opportunity to give it, okay, so why don't we do that, if you could, I'm gonna look at you, Adam, because we're gonna have a vote here in a few minutes, but this will fall in your lap anyway, so. Just see what's available, what night's available, if we can set this up and then do the 10-day notice and try to do it, you know, around the first week of the month. First week or early the second week or whatever. You okay with that?
Yeah, we're
Thank you. Thanks for
expecting,
reminding me of it.
some back at the hearing. I'll make sure that I'll attend as well. I'll just remind everybody, it's not a Q&A session. Yeah. But you can speak their piece, and it's only on the documents too. We always get the, I don't want the project there, and it's like, that's local planning and zoning, it's not, you know, it's not the words.
Basically, it's, again, we've been through this enough times. It's not for us to respond to this during the meeting. It's up to taking the information. We don't have to argue a point or defend our position or anything. We're just taking in the information that, and then when we meet to consider it, then, you know, we want, and many times people will give us written statements, you know, that we can refer to when we actually get to the vote, but it's not our job to refute anyone or defend our position at this point.
And Steve had a great point there. What you're considering is the benefit that you're offering to the project and the benefit that the project offers. A comprehensive analysis. Not how pretty they think it is or, right, you know, or.
We'll go on to the next, the GDC committee meeting, I think, we should just, we'll just move that to, we had a brief meeting, move that to the executive session.
Okay, I did want to share one thing.
Or, well, not yet, we still have some, the awards committee meeting and the nomination of the new executive director.
Sure, I just wanted to share the picture of the mural.
What's that?
The picture of the mural that's done.
Oh, that, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna put Zoom so that Jan can see it too. So the Geneva Theater Guild asked permission to put up a mural in the main hallway of the GDC. And they've had people in there working on it, and I think it's almost done. It's looking pretty cute.
Mhm.
It's nice to have something brightening up that corner.
Yeah. That's good, thank you. Okay, cool. Okay. Now the awards committee. Whoa.
I got these down. I wanted to put Lowe's logo on there, but they ignored me for 6 months, so I said no. That material gave me 5 buckets of items that they were no longer putting on their shelves. So that's that and the buckets are what's going to be handed out on the 30th. That put this together kind of drove me crazy at times because I wanted all 5 recipients to attend. The first night was supposed to be tonight, then 2 people couldn't make it, so I moved it to the 30th. The Zudo building is 6 o'clock. And I've got probably 50 photographs of before and after each of the projects. And those that attend, you'll hear a story about each one. And they're amazing. Some of the things that people did are just amazing. I thought I was a do-it-yourselfer, but these guys, yeah, dude. So it's just incredible. So, and I'm so happy to find them. I got kind of lucky. Wasn't just Neil telling me of building permits for projects that were great. That's where I started, but I learned more from John Brennan, my neighbor, said, hey, you should check out 300 J Street. And then found out a lot about that person. Not to mention William Street with the S. Yeah. And that fellow, Sean McCann, just interesting. He's done 80 houses in Geneva. He told me over like a 30-year span. He's done them over and rented, then sold. This one, corner of Williams, used to be a grocery store. Just amazing what he's done. Well, the investment. So all those things are going to be discussed at that night, and it's fun. I'm going to enjoy myself. I hope you can attend. I was trying to reach Liz to help do like a Friday update, what's happening. I emailed and called, haven't heard from. I wanted to see if we could get noticed.
Send it to me and we'll make sure we connect.
Okay.
We've had issues with some emails now.
Very good one. Good one. I just support you, and I think that'd be great.
That's gonna be good. Can we make sure council gets invited?
I talked to the mayor, this real fast. I called him. He said, "Hello, this is Steve." And I explained what I was doing. He said, "Oh, that sounds great." And I'm in Florida and I got married yesterday.
Yeah.
And I said, "You took the call?" I said, "No, we talked about getting married and the situation." I had fun with it, but I can't believe he took the call the morning after he was married. That was 30. Yes.
Okay, the next item was added to the agenda, and it has to do with our giving a executive director and David's retirement, or whatever you want to call it.
The other offer.
I think there's been discussion, but we should actually appoint one of, there's been discussion about Amy and Adam walking through this for us until we're able to get someone in the position permanently. But we should probably appoint one of you, right? What do you think, Adam?
I knew that's what you were.
We'll just,
I hate to give up my
independent.
CFO title of the IDA.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's actually a fair point. Is you probably can't be the executive director.
Research all my culture.
Yeah.
Nice way to skirt.
Google search this morning, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, all kidding aside, we'll work together on all of it anyway, to make sure that, you know.
Should we, should officially then just appoint Amy? Okay. And with the caveat that if there's an active search going to be started.
Yes, it may not be the same title, but the city will continue to provide services.
Sounds good. Okay, so, is there any discussion about this? Motion to accept Amy's application to the executive director.
Got my
IDA
I will make that motion to appoint.
to appoint.
I will second that.
All right,
And that's an interim.
interim executive director until, position is filled through a search. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so passed, all right? That satisfies our. Do you have anything to report from the county? Ryan can say that right at home.
ADC continue to be busy. If you could make sure that I get the public hearing notice, I'll share it out with the county housing ad hoc committee to be interested, and I'm sure somebody will come.
Okay. I'll do it. Okay, we'll make sure that happens. Okay, we just have ongoing projects. Anything to report on open issues?
I do. We had a great meeting with our OEO team. I think that project is, it's slowly moving forward. We're expecting a market study from them very soon. But I was pleased that they seem to have heard what the city said architecturally and taken some steps there, and we'll move forward hopefully in the next, they're meeting every 2 weeks. So at the next meeting, I hope they'll have more market data and an understanding of the finances of how it can work. And we got to see that more. Also the home leasing project has scheduled a, community meeting that they're mailing, cards to all of the people within a few block radius. And that is, like, was it June 4th or June 6th? It's this Wednesday.
June fourth at the library. Like,
For the council meeting. Yeah. It's at 5.
So, six.
And while we do that, I also heard recently from Jerry of the historic diner. And he had gone quiet for a while. We've talked about a few different sites. He is interested in making an offer. The offer that he had originally discussed for the property on Lake Street, we had discussed $40,000, a quick claim deed. He's interested in pursuing that again.
And that's just between the creek and the road.
Yes,
That's that parcel, which we own, right?
we own. Yep.
Okay.
So I wanted to get a sense of if that's something the idea is still interested in, and if it is, then I'll let him make a formal offer and put it through process for him.
It's going to insist on, no parking lot, something like that.
The only thing that he said that he wanted to insist on was, he would really like the city to make a gravel path from the parking lot on the other side of the street over there. Which I don't know if, buildings and grounds will do, but also I think we can counter with, maybe we'll let you do it, or you would like to do it. The parking requirement there is there's actually a maximum, and I think that was something we achieved out a little bit before. Is wanting more parking. I think with that connection to the parking lot across, it's probably fine.
The little sketch I gave him showed parking behind and the building up tight to the street. I hope he's not thinking parking problem. I mean, the building.
He can't, the zoning doesn't allow that, I think.
And if he thinks that it's just going to be a crushed stone surface because it's so much cheaper, that's a mistake.
Yeah, and the zoning also doesn't allow that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just build according to my plan.
Yeah,
I'd be happy.
you had a good point.
I think you got 11 spaces there, which wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And the idea of overflow on the other side, probably. He's gonna face quite a bit of money to prepare the site. Maybe the city can help him with water and sewer connections. I don't know how we normally operate.
Also, I think that the bank that he's going to be up to the creek needs to be rebuilt, or, I mean, it's kind of a temporary, I know it's been a long time, so temporary is not the right word, but it's, you know, it should be stabilized on both sides. To be discussed later. That's good information he came back.
so the community meeting on the Jackson Street property is on June fourth at 5:30.
5:30.
And it will end at 6:45 because the library closes at 7. Still their meetings.
That's a Wednesday night. We don't want our public hearing on that, do we? Okay, all right, we have just a few updates that we'd like to go into the executive session. Like a motion to put us into executive. Thank you, RJ. Agree, thank you. That, okay, it'll take us all line to keep jamming on, okay?
Yes, I can keep cheering on, I can stop.